Hello and welcome to Page Turners, a weekly bookish podcast for every kind of reader. Whether you want to explore a variety of genres, tick books off your growing TBR, or simply skip the reading for book club, we've got you covered. That's Amy.
And that's Liv. Hello.
Hello.
Standard start for the
I
page
know.
turners, ladies.
I know. It's just we've really got to think of something more exciting there.
I know, we do.
Mm. Ugh. Anyway, let's not sweat it.
Nah, nah, nah. How are you? How have you been?
Hot,
Hmm.
and not in an aesthetically pleasing way, more like a I'm a sweaty mess, please don't look at me type of way.
It's sticky. It's not nice.
Yeah, and I know that we'd sort of agreed not to mention the weather, but it's hard not to mention the weather when you're literally just sweating your tits
Hmm.
off.
Hmm. And it's raining. So even although it's hot, it's still raining.
Yeah, no. What have we done? I went to an Iron Maiden gig on Monday. I'm
Lovely.
wearing,
With your dad.
yeah, with my dad and Alex. And actually, fun thing. We came out of the gig. It was a great gig. Blah blah blah. Came out, and there was a lass in front of me with a toxic lesbian vampires tote bag. And I said to my dad, I said to Alex, I was like, "Oh, that tote bag is from Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil." And she turned around and she was like, "Yes, it is." She was like, "I haven't read it yet." I was like, "Oh, me and my very good friend, we have a
Wow.
podcast and we've just released an episode on it." And she was like, "Oh my God, tell me the name of the podcast." And,
Amazing.
um,
That, I mean, not quite, but I'm going to take that as a we've been spotted in the wild type comment. That's quite nice.
yeah, we've been spotted in the wild after I've mentioned that we have a book podcast.
That's okay. We can go with that for now. That's really cool that she's just repping the merch before she read the book. Cool.
Yeah, I think you got it from like Schwab's if you went like to like a night with her or something.
Ah, okay, cool. Yeah.
Um,
Oh well.
but but yeah, no, she was very excited to read it, and then her friends were sort of making fun of her because they were like, "She'll turn up in front of your house." I was like, "That's fine." I don't think it doesn't
As
matter.
long as she subscribes to the podcast.
That's what I said. I said, "Give us a 5 star." She was like, "Is it on Spotify?" I was like, "Yeah, have a listen. Give us a 5 star. You know, that's all you need to do. You can have our entire soul just for those two exchanges."
Absolutely. If you are listening, hello. Thank you.
Welcome, and I hope you enjoyed the gig. Uh,
Yes. Did you enjoy it? I saw lots of clips in various social media places of it, and it looked pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was insane. They've really like I've seen Maiden a couple of times before, but this year, or at least this tour, it seems as if they've really invested in like the behind of them, like the projections on the screen. Like it was insane. It felt so much more like inclusive because so even if you were there like as a supportive partner or whatever, and you don't maybe like me, I didn't know all the words to every single song, but I knew like maybe I think there was only two songs I didn't really know, but you could get the story as to what was happening, with
That's
what was
cool.
going on behind, and it was yeah, it was nice. And as always, like heavy metal and fans are always just the best. They're always so kind and nobody like nobody hurts each other, despite the fact that it looks like we do. But also Alex and I are way too old to be in the mosh pit,
I was
and
going to
my
say, are you trying to tell me that you, Alex, and your dad were in the mosh pit? No,
absolutely not,
no.
absolutely not with my dad's back conditions.
But did your dad enjoy every
Mm.
time?
This is his like 25th plus time seeing Iron Maiden. So yeah, I think it was cute because it was Alex's first time. So
Nice. So, oh, that's really nice. You could introduce him to it. Cool. That's cool. Um,
what have you been up to?
uh, mm, not not loads. If anyone is listening to the podcast purely for fence updates, which I'm assuming there will be a lot of you,
Oh yeah.
it's pretty much done.
Hey!
They just left, thankfully, because it's so noisy. So they left maybe about 15 minutes ago, and there's a tiny, tiny little bit still to go, and the gates to get put up, and then it will be officially done.
That's amazing. That's well ahead of schedule as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they are supposed to finish on Friday, and then next week they are meant to just be kind of doing little bits to tidy up our end, and also they're going to be doing the neighbours' part of their fence, so they'll still be around. But we get our house back a little bit because they have been coming in and out the utility room, like charging stuff, which is fine, not an issue. But it is a bit strange when you're working from home and you can hear someone like downstairs, and Rudy isn't here. He's in London. So, yeah. But no, great. Fence update done.
What are you currently reading then, now that you've done the fence update?
Fence update came first, reading update second. I have just started The God of the Woods by Liz Moore.
Ooh.
Yeah. I think it's like, well, it is mystery. Summer camps. So in the
Ooh.
past, um, a girl goes missing from a summer camp, and she is part of a very prestigious family who are very high profile and very wealthy in this small community.
Mm,
So there's quite a lot of bad blood between the haves and the have-nots. And
mm.
then we go into the kind of present day timeline, and I think someone else is going to disappear. So it's one of those
Ooh.
where you're like, it's harkening back to an old crime and what happened, and very twisty turny. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into it. What about you?
You're you're hoping a better mystery than With a Vengeance.
Well, that was it. I just, after reading that and feeling just so fulfilled by it, I had to find yet more mystery content to read. Um, yeah, let's hope this is a better experience.
I, we all hope that for you.
Thank
Um,
you.
I am reading the sequel to the book we have read this week.
Ah, okay. Was that like you had to read it instantly? Because we will get to this in a second with the summary, but we know this book ends on quite a significant cliffhanger.
Yeah, yeah, I think so for two obvious reasons. But yeah, no, I think so. And I think also because I finished it quite early.
Hmm.
Normally I'm like up the early hours of like yesterday morning just being like, oh, I've got to finish it. No, I finished it quite early. And I thought, ah, sod it, I'm in the universe. I'll continue the universe. So
Nice.
yeah, it's good. I'm about a third of the way through.
Good. I don't know anything about that one. I don't know if it's any bigger or if it's round about the same size as the one that we read this week. So,
I'm gonna say it's probably about the same size.
same size. Cool. All right.
Hmm,
Interesting. Good.
hmm, hmm. Um, we're quite lacking in book happenings, book news this
We
week.
are, but we did talk quite a lot about bookish happenings last episode, so I think we've covered some of the bigger things. But if anything is happening, apologies.
Yeah, I mean, let us know. I don't know if I have an update for the RLJ LJR Beverly
Oh,
Obsessed
yeah.
book.
The Beverly
Um,
debacle continues.
then that is thus what we will call it now, forevermore.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I don't know, maybe check back next week. Because these are all dying to know and you can't Google it for
You
yourselves.
can't possibly find out any other way except listening to the podcast.
Um, but yeah, should we cut to the chase?
Let's do it.
Amy, tell us, what have we read this week?
We have read Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh, the first in the Boys of Tommen series. Hugely popular everywhere you look online. Don't really know how we missed it, but we were probably just reading something else.
Most likely, yes. I mean, you're talking to two people who didn't read Fourth Wing until Onyx Storm was due out. Like, so, I don't think it's like we've purposely missed it. I think I'd seen it everywhere. The covers are fairly iconic.
I had no
Uh,
idea what it was about, to be honest. I didn't realize it was high school age. I didn't realize it was like sport romance. I
mm,
thought it was actually maybe like a dark romance at one point. I know there are dark themes in it, but more of like a dark mafia, that kind of thing. I thought maybe we were looking there. Um, but yeah, I had no idea what I was getting into.
yeah, I find it strange having read it that it's like I understand why it's categorized as a sports romance, but
Mm.
it's yeah, less of a sports romance than I think other books that are categorized as a sports romance.
Especially, I mean, we haven't really covered very many sports romances. I think we've only really done the one or two, I
Yes.
guess, if you want to count the whole duology. But it feels very different from that, from Heated Rivalry.
Yes, it does. 100%. Despite also being quite similar in terms of like having a wider character set that will eventually get together as well. That's a similarity there for sure. So I wonder if that's a maybe a trope of sports romance or, maybe just contemporary romance in general. Anyway, yeah, onwards and upwards.
Okay. Do you have some trigger warnings for us? There are a lot, I'm sure.
I do have some trigger warnings. I do indeed.
Did you find them yourself, or were they available online or in the book?
I went on to
Oh,
triggerwarningdatabase.com.
of course, good old trigger warning database.com.
Classic, classic. Yeah, nothing in the book, nothing on Chloe's website. But
Do you know what actually really does surprise me?
yeah, maybe there was something in the book. I'm not sure. I think I don't want to pretend that there wasn't anything. I know that I've been on the website today. There's nothing on the website today.
Mm.
Um, but yes.
Okay.
But all I had to do was type in binding 13 Chloe Walsh trigger warnings and triggerwarnings.com gave it what we needed.
Well, there is a little. No, there's not. There's a disclaimer, which is more just about the fact that if anything resembles anyone in real life, that's, purely
Then no, it
coincidental.
doesn't.
You didn't see anything, okay?
Yeah, exactly. All you need from your trigger warnings is mild threat. Um, Okay, so we have child abuse and neglect by a parent with alcoholism on page. Foster care system experiences recounted. Sexual assault of a minor. This is a side character and is very much off page. Suicidal ideation, anxiety and panic attacks, alcohol consumption, teen pregnancy and miscarriage mentioned. Hospitalization for surgery, physical illness, and injury, including cyclic vomiting syndrome on page.
Yeah, yeah. If you really don't like to read about, because there are a lot of people that are funny about like vomit and stuff, then yeah, there's a lot of it in here.
Yeah. And physical assault and graphic bullying on page.
Yeah,
Uh,
that sums up.
no peril this week. No peril.
No, I mean,
Unless, well, no fantastical peril. Let's put it that
no. It's much
way. Yeah.
more real world peril, which I feel like kind of does it a disservice to call it peril.
Yes. Especially in
Trauma,
our context with
perhaps.
trauma. Yes, no, trauma is a real nice, all-encapsulating, full, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, the summary of Speed, Amy, please.
Right, so again, always with the disclaimers. This is like my disclaimer. I've missed loads. It's a huge book. I've summarized pages upon pages, chapters upon chapters in about a sentence. Apologies. I've done my best.
People just need it for either a refresher or,
We'll
you know,
talk about it all anyway, so don't worry about it.
exactly.
Okay.
We maybe should just stop doing that disclaimer. We should just, the people know now, they're in here, they know that we don't fucking, yeah,
Might
whatever.
be a bit shy. Maybe look somewhere else for a full summary if that's what you're looking for.
Exactly.
Typically, I write it about 3 seconds before we start the podcast. Today was no different. I wrote it on a train.
Yep.
So there you go.
We can pretend to be many things, but prepared is not one of them.
No, it ain't one of them. Okay.
I'm counting you down.
Okay.
Three, two, one, go.
Shannon Lynch transfers to Tommen College to escape relentless bullying at her old school. Traumatized, quiet, and emotionally guarded, she tries to keep a low profile, but her life changes when a stray rugby ball hits her and she's helped by school rugby star Johnny Kavanagh. Johnny is battling his own struggles, especially a serious groin injury that threatens his professional future. Despite their emotional baggage and age difference, which worries Johnny, the two form a slow burning bond. As Shannon continues to face abuse from her dad at home, Johnny becomes her protector, growing increasingly attached to her despite pressures from exes and teammates. The relationship deepens and Johnny confides in Shannon about his injury, but Shannon gets cold feet when she realises that Johnny's fame at school could pull her into the spotlight and provoke her dad. The abuse at home worsens and her dad is kicked out of the house. However, soon her mum leaves too. It's revealed that Shannon's mum has miscarried. Shannon spends more time with Johnny and eventually tries to kiss him. However, he pulls back as he isn't sure he can give Shannon the commitment she needs. Our lovebirds and the rugby team travel for a game. Despite everyone trying to convince him not to, Johnny plays with his injury and ends up seriously hurt. He's told that he will need emergency surgery, blah, blah, blah. He's told that he will need emergency surgery to prevent further damage. The pair finally kiss. High on morphine after his operation, Johnny confesses his feelings to Shannon. Shannon tells him she loves him too, but is convinced he won't remember when he's lucid again. Shannon's dad discovers her closeness with Johnny and violently attacks her and her brothers. Her brother Joey intervenes to protect them and finally gives their mum an ultimatum: leave their dad for good or lose access to the children.
1 minute, 32 seconds. Yeah, I think very hard not to not skirt over a bunch of stuff happening behind the scenes there. Um, but yeah, no, that's the gist of it. Yeah, it ends on that cliffhanger of basically two things. Basically, Johnny being told that his professional career into the Irish team, the under 20s, is in jeopardy. Obviously, if he can't go to summer tryouts or some
Yeah, I
shit,
think
then
he's got to be have like 6 weeks of downtime, so he's going to
yeah,
potentially miss out in the trials.
yeah. And obviously the him or us, I believe, is the last words that Joey utters in that book. So, I mean, first of all, we are very much put introduced to two worlds, aren't we? We are introduced to Shannon, who lives very much in the wrong side of the tracks type.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
put to us as like it's they don't say council houses.
No, they
I
do. They say a council
oh,
estate at one point. Yeah,
oh
yeah.
good.
Mhm.
Good. Once again, I'm questioning whether I actually read this book. Uh, good, yeah, good. So I'm glad because I didn't want to assume.
No, I do
But
think they mention that, and yeah, she's got her parents presumably met quite young. Her mum was pregnant very young. She has lots of brothers, and her mum, unbeknownst to her, was pregnant again. Whereas Johnny is polar opposite. He's got a very privileged lifestyle. He's got a very affluent family, and he's kind of like the golden boy in all aspects of his life.
I just want to clear something up straight off the bat. If anyone is reading this and thinking to themselves, "Oh my God, all rugby players are all giants. They're like 6'3", 6'4", and 6'5" wide." That is a complete lie. There is not one short ass in this entire supporting cast. As a woman who has married a rugby player who is short, I can tell you for certain, not everybody is a towering giant.
Well, it very much depends on your position, doesn't it? I mean,
Yes,
my husband played rugby, my brother-in-law played rugby. My brother-in-law is shorter than me and has a completely different frame to your standard rugby player. But he's still an incredibly talented rugby player. So, yeah. I mean, I would say that if you're reading this book if you know about rugby, mm, you're not going to learn anything more. If you don't know about rugby, you're not going to learn very much. It's not, in my
yeah.
opinion, hugely well researched.
You can tell, I think, that the author enjoys rugby.
Fine. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This is not a idiot's guide to rugby.
No, but some sports romances really, the person who wrote it either has a huge connection to the sport, a real love for the sport, and sometimes makes it a little bit inaccessible by putting in too much detail and too much depth.
That's
Um,
very
Other times they get it just right, the balance. I think that don't go, I wouldn't read this looking for a sport romance in that sense, that you're going to then have lots of sport intertwined through there and lots of information about rugby. It's not really about that.
Yeah, and which is why I think I started when at the intro saying about like how I wouldn't categorize how it feels strange to me to categorize this as a sports romance because I mean yes, the main character, the main love interest, his sort of like life and career is put around rugby, but it doesn't affect our heroine really in any way.
Not really. And real I think it's just a way to frame him in his that golden boy persona, and it gives him a lot of his challenges that he's so driven to be the best. He's a perfectionist. He puts a lot of pressure on himself.
Yeah.
So I think that's how rugby comes into it. But you could probably have it had any sport and it would have been just the same.
Well, that's it. We also get hurling
Yeah.
um as a sport. So um it's also this weird sort of dynamic as well because it's Northern Ireland and Ireland because Johnny is from Dublin.
Mhm.
And so obviously I really like the glossary in the back. I don't know if you found that. Yeah, everybody loves a glossary in the back telling us like, the sort of the slang words for Irish or like, what they call Johnny basically like not dirt, but like in a fun way. He is actually from Northern Ireland. This is set in Ireland, Ireland. And you get like even that divide between Joey, her brother. It's almost you imagine that even though Johnny plays rugby in Ireland, rugby is seen as this English sport, this sort of like um,
Yes. Yeah.
sport of crown type thing, and is shunned by well Joey and sort of these guys, the sort of other side of like as not nationalist, not true Irish, So
Yeah.
Joey starting
Yeah,
her.
I had a look at the terminology. So a culchie is a person from the countryside or a
Yeah,
county outside of Dublin, and a jackeen is a person from Dublin. So yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of typical, kind of similar here though, in that rugby is seen as like the gentleman's sport. Like in Scotland, when I was at school, most people played football. Football was
right.
a lot more like accessible and working class, which was what my high school was. Whereas rugby was very much seen as like a middle to upper class sport. So
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the thing I keep forgetting, or I kept forgetting throughout the book, and I'd be interested to see if you felt the same, that Tommen was a private school.
yeah, Tommen for me just felt quite difficult to place a lot of the time. I didn't really get a sense of the private school thing. No, not at all.
I think it's probably because we don't spend an awful lot of time in the other school, Shannon's other school. So we do, which is fine. I'm fine with. Like we all know what schools look like. You and I went. I mean, obviously we've never been to an Irish school specifically,
Mhm.
but we have been both in the English and Scottish education system,
Yes.
so we're
And it
very
felt
aware.
very much like she went to a comprehensive, this is a private school. So I feel like you could see the difference and how she was trying to get used to that and find her feet. And it talked a lot about how much grander it was than her school. It had a common room, there was a kitchen in it, like so we got that cultural divide quite quickly. We got a common room when I was in like sixth year. We didn't have a common room before that, so I get it.
No, true. Yeah, our sixth form, because my high school was also a sixth form, and so when you stayed at sixth form, there was a common room.
Mhm.
Was there a kitchen? I don't think so.
I think we had like a wee sink that you could make like a cup of tea at, like a kettle and a sink. There wasn't like huge facilities or anything like that, but I mean that was impressive even for us. So,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, we had our own toilets. Oh my God.
hmm. Yeah. So I got a taste. We got a little taste of that. So obviously, Tommen is supposed to be a bit, much better facilities and things. But yeah, I didn't really feel too strongly about it because we didn't spend that much time there.
We also don't focus an awful lot on the academic side of what you
No,
normally get in a sports romance, like.
no.
And this is very American, but like keeping up your GPA, that type of thing. But a similar type thing to this is, I mean, there's at one point, so Shannon's been bullied horrendously, which is why she's at Tommen in the first place. Her mum, but this is the bit that confuses me. Her mum's able to pay the fees that I imagine are astronomical
Mhm.
by working a bunch of jobs, but I just, I just don't. I didn't understand the finance, and I'm not going to get it up here. We're not going to do any calculations. I'm just going to believe that that's possible.
You just need to believe. I think if it was a private school, I mean, there are some private schools here that are not as fancy as certain private schools here. Like there are boarding schools here
Yeah.
and there are kind of private schools, which maybe would be a little bit more accessible for people to pay. But yeah, the idea of actually affording to go to the school didn't really make sense to me either.
But yeah, I was just like, fine, fine, fine. Um, but there's no emphasis on the academy, the academic side. There's nothing of that. Like, oh yeah, because Shannon's being bullied. That's what I was saying. And since Shannon's being bullied, like she talks about how her grades were great at first, and then over 2 years they were just like, and she was barely like. There is not one point during the whole story that Shannon's ever pulled up on like, oh, you're slipping behind or whatever. There's none of that. So I think,
No, no, there's just mention of the fact that she struggles with maths and
yeah,
helps her with her studying a little bit at one point. But at that point, I felt like we were just, events were just happening. So I didn't really think it was all that significant.
yeah, I think you could have taken out the school if and probably still had, I'm not sure what setting you put it in, but the school doesn't, yeah. So if you're reading this thinking, oh, academy, we all know Amy loves an academic setting. I don't think this would have lived up to any expectations of it,
No, it didn't scratch that itch for me.
which is fine because I don't think it presents itself as such, but yeah. Um, Sorry, we went in with first impressions. Well, we didn't do that at all. I was sort of thinking, yeah, I'm not really sure to be honest. I kept forgetting that it wasn't American.
Oh, really? I thought it felt very like, I got that it was Ireland. Like, I really felt quite,
I just I, yeah, and I just kept I think because a lot of the sports romances that I have read are American, are sort of like removed
mhm.
from this country. Um and having sort of been at a school myself and had friends that were rugby players and so it it's and been at university and it's where I met my husband and like he was a rugby player and sort of like I ju- I just I just found some of it hard to relate to.
Okay, fair enough.
But I was it but that's my own problem. I found it easy to sort of push that aside and just plow through the story.
Yeah. Um, Setting took a backseat. Character all the way with this one. I kind of knew what I was getting into. I think I thought I didn't realize how young they were.
Yes, and we have had a previous little text exchange about this, haven't we?
Didn't know that. And I assumed it would be spicy because any kind of big book talk phenomenon tends to be spicy. I'm kind of glad it was. I'll just say outright, I'm very glad it wasn't.
Mhm.
Um, but I kind of went in with an open mind, to be honest. Yeah.
Fair, fair. Just reading through our text exchange, I texted you on Friday saying that I'm hooked in. I was hooked in.
It.
Very true. You weren't as far through. You sort of like. I was saying that there's something quite gripping about it. I was on 85% and there had been no spice.
Mhm.
And your response was, ugh.
Yeah.
Um, it's an interesting one. I did feel like whilst there is no on-page sex, there th she Chloe Walsh did a good job, and maybe you agree, maybe you don't. We'll find out. That it still sort of felt sexy, and like the fact that we got inner monologues and the fact that the boys taught that we had two POVs, which was very nice. First of all, we have Shannon's POV and we have Johnny's, which is nice. It gives you a full well-rounded group of characters. And when Johnny's with the boys or Gibbsy, his BFF, who is cute in his own right,
Very
um,
cute.
also massive and also 6 foot wide, 6 foot tall. Um, then, they are quite explicit in the way that they talk, and so it still felt like we got that element of sexiness without necessarily getting the sex.
Yeah, to me, I mean, was any element of like being in high school and finding people attractive genuinely sexy to reflect on and read back? No, but did it capture how it felt at the time to feel like that? Yes, I think Chloe did a really good job at getting into the head of these young people and doing it in a way that was realistic and yet responsible and tasteful, like it wasn't too much.
Yeah, and that brings us on to what we then discussed later in the text, and what we're going to discuss now is the age gap.
Mhm.
So she's done it very clearly, by making it that Shannon is technically 2 academic years younger than Johnny,
Mhm.
but Shannon was kept behind in her one of her first years of schooling
Mhm.
because she was bullied so horrifically.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm sorry, I'm saying that flippantly, but it's not that I don't it's not that I don't think it's realistic. People can be horrifically bullied. It was just the fact that Shannon just kind of get her head around why she's bullied, and I'm not saying that she has a reason to be bullied. It's just they just seem to come out of nowhere and do it for no reason.
Yeah. It's tough to talk about it because you're right, you don't want to come across as flippant or cold or, unsympathetic to actual people that go through this, but it felt a little bit like there was like a kind of victim mentality, not by the character, but the author was just wanting her to suffer. She was suffering we didn't really understand why. Every time she left school and moved to a new school, she was bullied. She was held back a year and she was bullied again. So it was never really, and there's no explanation, but it felt just like the character didn't really understand it. We didn't really truly understand it. She came to Tommen and instantly expected to be bullied. Yeah.
But then wasn't
No,
like,
at all.
and obviously we're chuffed for Shannon. Yeah, great. But like, I just want to know what's different. Like, is it because to
Because they've
me,
all got money. Joking.
that's it. That's it. And that is something that really sort of made me feel a bit like,
Winds
oh,
me up a wee bit. It does piss me off a little bit because you think, what are you trying to say about comprehensive schools then? That they're just a cesspit of horrible people. And it's like,
and look, she's not wrong entirely about, you know,
no, we've both attended them. Like, we get
yeah,
it.
but but even in my schools, there were obviously I was bullied, but like, and people were, friends of mine were bullied, but like we weren't ever bullied for no reason. Like there wasn't ever any like, and I don't mean we deserved it or whatever, but there was
No,
always
no.
like I didn't like the look at your face or whatever or something. But there is this one thing, this really strong thing that they keep talking about is that Shannon's so beautiful.
She's so gorgeous and tiny. She is like a sweet
Oh
little pixie human being.
my
Tiny.
God.
Like a wee.
Honestly, honestly. Like even I just felt like there was no need to make Johnny this strapping 6'3" whatever, because Shannon was gonna be tiny no matter, like she was gonna be so fucking tiny. It's like you didn't need to make him a gargantuan massive bastard for her to be tiny. Just keep telling us she's tiny. That's and
Yeah.
boy did she keep telling us she was tiny.
And she had the Bella Swan complex that really grinds my gears, that she kept tripping over, falling down. She was so clumsy. Like, what is going on with these women?
It's tough, right? Like I understand it more in Shannon than I ever did in Bella Swan, because Shannon is repeatedly beaten and sort of made to make herself small, and in that sense, making yourself small and trying to take up as little space as possible does cause you to be less coordinated.
Mhm.
So I completely, yeah, I don't like it when it's used as a trope with Bella, but I understand from the point of abuse with Shannon, I think.
You
But
think,
I
yeah,
get,
I know.
um so yeah, Shannon is 15, but she's about to become 16.
Mhm.
and Johnny is 17, about to become 18.
Mhm.
And so yeah, that's sort of how they get around it. Shannon turns 16 quite quickly, in the school year, I suppose, ish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I might have missed it. So you can jump in here and obviously let me know. But was there a reason for the age gap? Because it felt like Chloe Walsh didn't really want it there either. She was obviously trying to do what she could to like a little bit of damage control with her being held back a year, and that totally made sense. But what was it for then?
I wonder if it's to give us that sort of jeopardy that Johnny is on the cusp of his life becoming something more
And
with
he's
rugby.
taken a risk by it's like a bad time for him, I suppose, to be involved in a relationship which could take away his focus, I suppose. And he also mentions that if he is involved with her when she's too young, he can go to prison. So that is dealt with well.
Yeah, and there are a lot of talk of statutory rape in this.
A
Uh,
lot, a lot. And if you're going to put it in, then you do need to do what you got to do to make it very clear that this is not sexy and ooh, risky and taboo. It's illegal.
yeah. Um, it's yeah, so I wonder if it's in there so that we meet two people who are clearly very similar. Like one has obviously had everything given to them, the other has not. And yet we find them at this crux in their lives where they meet each other, and only time is something that separates them.
Yeah.
God, I got really philosophical there. I didn't like that. Ugh.
Ugh.
Um, and yeah, so he is essentially on the cusp of adulthood, but also I think it's less about like the danger or whatever. She's not, I don't think she's trying to make it sexy or taboo or whatever. I think she's making it in a sense that like he's on the cusp of adulthood, meaning his future awaits and he can't see a way where that future isn't impacted by opening up to someone, and how it has to be now for him now because it's under 20s, like it's, you got to be, well, under 20, but
If
like,
you're going to make it, you need to make it now. This is the moment.
yeah,
Because otherwise, someone is just going to come up and replace you.
absolutely. Yeah. Um,
Um, how did it feel for you being in the head of teenagers?
I found it was twofold really. So I found it sometimes they were struggling with deeper themes that were difficult to sort of relate to teenage wise. So sometimes I felt like the things that they were talking about obviously were with not themes that teenagers don't go through, but it was less like, what am I gonna wear? You know?
Hmm. Hmm.
I am not suggesting in any way that teenagers only go through sadness about their clothes or whatever. Um, it was, yeah, but also I thought it was done quite well. I really, really am very sick though of people suggesting that just because someone's mature for their age means they're an old soul. Like,
I know. How many old souls we're going to have to read about? Yeah. I found it fairly realistic, and in finding it realistic, found it quite irritating. But then that makes perfect sense because you are irritated when you're a teenager. I was irritated when I was a teenager. It makes sense. You do ruminate
I
on
was,
things. No, you were fine. You were top. You were
yeah,
top. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I was class.
yeah. Sure, of course, of course. Um, it's true though, because you don't have the worldview, you don't have the experience. You would be ruminating on the same things, you would be going over the same problems in your mind, and perhaps finding it difficult to come up with different solutions and different ways of approaching it. But it did read a little bit repetitive, and that we kept going over the same issues, the same conversations again and again and again.
Yes, yeah. Um, I also wonder if that is used to sort of, well, because they have quite, like you said, a narrow world view, right? Like they don't, this is maybe why it all comes together, why it's set in a school, why it's like, there's that smaller age gap, that age gap even between two people quite young. Um, it's sort of you know, what else do they focus on? Oh, there's this that Shannon's actually being fucking
Hmm.
used by her dad and anyone that'll get their hands on her.
Hmm.
Um, and then obviously Johnny has bigger aspirations and stuff. Yeah, so I think, yeah, you were right. There were not just the repetition that Shannon was so tiny, but also like what else was repeated? Um,
Quite a lot was repeated, I would say, and especially when we got the will they won't they element of miscommunication and just roadblocks for the sake of roadblocks sometimes.
fair enough.
And actually, yes, it can totally be a skill, it can totally be deliberate, but I mean, we were looking at this is a massive book, it's huge.
It
I
is.
think
It's a
it could have been cut down a little bit in places.
yeah, yeah. I I want to maybe give the benefit of the doubt and say the reason it's so long is because it needs that build up. It needs to be sensitive. It needs to be sort of, like you said, written about carefully and sort of not fetishized or anything like that. So we have that longer build up, which I fully get behind 100%. But I do think there are a lot in the way of like filler chapters.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm.
But then also we are entering into a full cast of characters that will get their own little duology,
Totally. And
own
it
little.
is supposed to be like to me, it read like a drama. Like it read like a kind of teen drama, like a kind of gritty teen drama.
Yeah,
So I don't tend to read books like that. So actually, in terms of like trope and how long these books tend to be and the kind of things and how they discuss stuff and how they deal with things, I don't have a huge frame of reference for that, to be honest. So
yeah.
yeah, this and it
It's a
could just be Chloe Walsh's style because she has written a
yeah.
lot of these books and I think they're all pretty big.
Yeah, I think as well, I think I definitely like it's like the first in a like a film series as well. You need to introduce all the characters, you need a bit of background on them, you need their connections to each other and sort of thing. So I think maybe I'm more I have been more forgiving in the sense of like, oh yeah, it's a long book, but boy, it needs to be, you know?
Mhm.
But there were a few things that didn't really sit right with me. And I'm trying to come to terms with whether or not it's it's tough. It's trying to come to terms whether or not this is Chloe's voice or this is Shannon saying
Okay,
it
go on.
or like Johnny. There's a particular bit where she's introducing Lizzie in chapter 2, and she says, proving the point that basically Lizzie's quite androgynous or wears what she wants
Yes.
or whatever.
Hmm.
She's not necessarily full female presenting or whatever. Um, and proving the point that you don't need to strip down and paint your face to attract the opposite sex.
Don't like that. I don't. I feel like there was a lit, and again, I don't know. It could be where it's set. It could have been when it's set because it's not present day. I think it's like 2008, something like that. 2005, maybe. Um,
No
yeah.
idea.
Sorry.
And
Don't
no
know. No.
idea.
And it is a small place, with quite traditional values.
Hmm?
But I think there was quite a bit of misogyny in the book.
Interesting. Take us through it.
No, I think you've given us a good example of it there.
You mean as well, sorry, you mean female misogyny,
Yes,
like
internalized misogyny for sure. Yeah, I
yeah,
think there was a lot about how you don't have to wear makeup or like there was also, I mean, mm, the whole thing with D didn't really sit right with me. I didn't like that. The fact that we had a school secretary, I think it might be a slightly different position. I don't really know the ins and the outs, who just gives the boys at school sexual favors.
and yeah, really interesting one. And Johnny's never, I don't think he's ever, he's never had, he's never done it.
No, but he knows that it's something that she would be up for, so he uses it to try and get some influence over D.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I mean we don't see women do it, which is good. The girls don't do it. That's obviously a very sort of glaringly like not written by men type thing. They don't use their feminine wiles in any way. So is it subverting that trope? I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it's just maybe it's just not necessary, you know? You
Don't think it's necessary. I think that's what it is. And we've talked about this before, but I am sick of women in stories being portrayed in those ways. I didn't like the way that Bella's character was handled either.
Yeah, I mean, she's not there to be two-dimensional though, you know? Like, and I'm not saying that that excuses it at all.
She's
But
not there
she's
to be two-dimensional. I thought she was in.
sorry, sorry. She's not there to be
Yeah, I
three-dimensional.
was gonna say, well, what are we getting then?
Um, sorry, yeah, that's it. Yeah, she's not there to be well-rounded. Like, she is a plot point. She is a character plot. Like, which is sad. But I can, yeah, it's not a well-rounded cast of developed characters.
Not
The
yet.
characters.
Do you know what? We need to give it time because we know that there are going to be other books in the series. So that's where I could kind of turn a blind eye. It wasn't a standalone, it's not a one-off story. Other things might happen, things might be developed better.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Bella is black and white. Like that's she's typical mean girl. Like I just for me it poses this weird question of whether we can believe anyone in the story because even when you know we have Shannon who obviously she internalizes her self-hatred. Obviously, of course she does. Her father is awful, has been physically and emotionally abusive for years. And so I completely get that. All the boys are very clear to be like, oh my God, she's gorgeous. Like, she's stunning. My God, yeah. And, we've got Claire, we've got Lizzie, who are her friends and who obviously think she's stunning. I don't believe that Bella wouldn't recognize that she's stunning.
Oh, I know. Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Like, there's no, like, so I cannot,
I mean, she's not written like unconventionally attractive. So I feel like how else would you perceive her? You know, it's not like you need to get to know her before you see the inner beauty. Like she's got gorgeous hair, really lovely, like bee-stung lips. She's got these amazing eyes that we keep getting
yeah.
told about. So I think you're totally right. I can't, yeah, I can't get on board with that either.
Yeah, whereas the follow-up to that line that I just read out about proving the point you don't need to strip down is a genuine smile and a nice personality went a long way.
Mm.
But the problem is Lizzie doesn't have a nice personality. She is written like this is used to describe a character who is very much just like she's not awful. I don't think she's awful, but she's made to appear awful to all
Mhm.
of these boys because she doesn't give a shit.
No.
And I don't understand why that dynamic was introduced. You've got Claire, Lizzie, and Shannon,
Hmm.
and the Claire and Lizzie went to Tommen when Shannon went to the thingy, so they lost touch. And
Yeah.
then when they're all back together, Lizzie doesn't do anything wrong. Like like she's never mean to Shannon, she's never mean to Claire. She's like, but the story sets out this real clear dynamic that Claire and Shannon are besties and they're besties and Lizzie just somehow falls by the wayside and I don't know why. I didn't understand it.
Didn't understand that. I don't know if it's even if it's maybe just a commentary on that old thing of like three's a crowd, you know, like it's a very difficult number to then have equal close relationships with everybody. Maybe that's very high school, that's very young. Like perhaps that's what she was trying to do. Don't know. But you're right, we only get the internal monologue of Shannon and Johnny, so it's difficult really to know what other characters are like, not seen through their eyes.
Very true. And I don't want to look because I don't want to spoil anything for myself. I'll be interested to see if we do get a Lizzie sort of book as we go on, or we
Yeah,
get any sort of more backstory, maybe with, I mean, clearly there's going to be a Claire and Gibbsy book.
yeah.
Uh,
You read that. That one was cute. I really liked it. I liked the fact that you kept talking about getting married to her and stuff. It was very sweet. I like their dynamic. I assume the next one then is still just Shan and Johnny, and it just ends their story, and then we move on.
yeah, I mean, obviously I'm only a third through keeping 13. So yeah, it is. What I'll tell you what's really interesting as well is they are not. Chloe has done well. She does not rattle through time. We are not racing towards a time, racing years ahead. We are
No.
picking up as soon as we leave off. We are like a week, maybe, whatever. Like I'm a third of the way through the book and it's been maybe a week, maybe two at most. I think maybe a week and a half, but like and I respect it because we're not rattling to Shannon becoming an adult and those two just banging, you
No, I
know?
like that too because I think you could have seen even like her turn. We've talked about this before, but like she turns 18 in the book and then it's go time, you know?
Yeah.
And that might be handled really beautifully, really sweet. That could be a really nice storyline. But we might not get there in the second book. It might be and you know, I don't even know if they're supposed to be spicy. We're just saying that because TikTok is all about the spice, but actually maybe Chloe never intended these books to ever be that. I don't know.
I think maybe when you hear trigger warnings, you genuinely like when you hear it to say, "Oh, hey guys, this is like Binding 13. This is like a sports romance, and there's trigger warnings, and it's sort of like, oh, okay, so I know what that's gonna be. I know that's gonna be a sort of sports romance. I know that I'm gonna go in. There's gonna probably be sex on page, like because." What else are they going to do?
Mhm.
It's either going to be sort of like an enemies to lovers type feel or like a sort of anything like enemy teams or whatever. And I think maybe this does really well at providing us a fresher or,
I think so. I think I like the fact that it kind of just doesn't fall into any one trope. You know, you can't, I guess maybe like heart comfort would be the kind of dynamic between the two. But I like the fact that it's way more realistic like that. It's just two people meeting and not hating each other, not being instantly in love with one another, but realistically growing together and their relationship building. That felt really well done to me.
yeah, I will say Johnny is very obsessed very fast.
I think
Um,
it's more internalized though, which again, I do think that could be quite teenage boy-esque. And I mean, and just teenage-esque, because I remember it yourself when you meet someone and you're like, oh my goodness, are they thinking about me? Should I text them? Should I not text them? Like, I thought that was quite realistic, but it wasn't the way we know it can be in certain books where it's like instantly, I will do anything for you, and they make it very obvious. There's a lot of push and pull in this one. Johnny is kind of pulling back. He doesn't really want to. When she kisses him, he doesn't kiss her back.
yeah, no, that was an interesting one. I liked it. It was a different
Yeah,
dynamic to explore.
yeah.
I think I think as well, he is clearly obsessed with her. And like you said, it's internalized, but then I think he does things behind the scenes, like he stops them from bullying her, and it does come off a little possessive, a little obsessive.
Some of the
Right now,
decisions were quite poor, like they get stealing her file, poor, punching someone in the face. Mm, it's a bit much, isn't it? And she's already been surrounded by violence in her life. Like she'd made that's not fair to be putting that on her.
yeah, so that's spoilers. Not really. That is a theme in the second book, is that
Ah.
everyone around her is telling her that Johnny's just like her dad.
Oh wow. Oh well, actually, that is really interesting. Like that's handled better than I thought it would be. I thought that might just be like, isn't he dreamy? He like punched a guy for her, but actually, that's been dealt with really well.
Yeah, no, it's quite interesting. There's something about it, and I don't know, and I do this all the time. There is just something about it. Maybe I like contemporary romance more than I think I do, but I think we talk about how anything with a bit of grit, a bit of realism, which is mad for you and I because we don't read for realism, we read for escapism. But yet to have that grit, to have that edge, really does pull me in. Yeah, like.
I did enjoy it. Like I got into it. I wasn't finding it a chore to get through all the pages. I doubt it was quite long. I felt like some of the scenes weren't really necessary, but I still enjoyed reading them. Like it was fine. Um,
What glowing review?
I know they're all right. I read them. No, it wasn't grounded in any kind of fantastical world that we like. It was very much in reality. As someone that does read when they're in the mood to read certain things. that would probably stand in the way of me picking up the next one unless I was in a position where I wanted to read that kind of thing. But if I was looking for something a bit more escapist, probably wouldn't pick it up. But I like the characters and I'm quite keen to find out what happens next. So,
Yeah, I think it's my completionist nature that moves straight on to the next
mhm,
book.
mhm,
Uh, you're nodding like that's obvious.
mhm,
I
mhm.
thought this was actually a really good take for me. Like,
Yeah, yeah, it came from nowhere, that one. You're telling me things and I'm like, what? This is brand new information. Uh,
um,
yeah,
but that
yeah.
doesn't mean I'm not enjoying myself.
No, that's it. And do you think you would read the rest? Do you think you need to read the rest eventually, or do you think you'll just go one after the other, after the other, after the other? Like, what are you thinking?
Oh, hard to say. Normally, like, not well lived would probably go one after the other, after the other, after the other. But it depends how this one finishes. If this one finishes with like a nice little wrap up and I can sort of maybe leave Johnny and Shannon there for a little bit and then maybe come back. The problem is, you know, Liv might never come back. I don't know why I'm referring to myself in the third person, but yeah, that's
I know
that's
that feeling though. I have finished books and been like, I can't wait for the next one. And then the next one is released and I'm like, nah. I'll get to it eventually. What's wrong? Like, why have you changed so much in such a short space of time? But there are some books that I haven't read the last one in the series and I devoured the first three and
yep,
then
I
haven't read the last one. And it's not because I'm trying to keep it and savor it. It's just because I'm a bit like, eh.
That's it. I'm exactly the same, and I'd like to hope that people listening to this are relating to what you're saying because that's how I feel a lot of the time. It's like I think it's probably something to do, and I will blame the publishing industry at any cost other than blaming myself. Um, I just I think it's probably because of this element of fast publishing, and you and I have potentially coined that term. Um, but the idea that like books are just being churned out and there's the next big thing, the next big thing, and and I think that works for you and I with our how would I phrase this kindly towards us? Our penchant for a hyperfixation.
Oh, yes. We like to dabble and then we like to never think about it again.
Agreed, agreed.
And then we
Amy
dabble maybe a little bit more.
in something very similar. But yes,
Mhm.
much like Amy and I will text each other with TV shows when we're both just like, I am obsessed with this. I've watched it all. Like, watch it right now. And then we'll never talk about it again.
Never talk about it again.
I
Yep.
spent one whole episode of Ransom Canyon just sending Amy videos of me reacting to it. And then we've never spoken about it since.
I've never even watched the next episode. Oh no, wait, what am I on? Episode three, maybe? But yeah, who knows what's happening with Lila Garrity right now.
Oh, she's at the Philharmonic, clearly. Um, little bit of Ransom Canyon lore there for anyone. Sorry.
But I do. I ping pong back and forward. So it's like one thing, I'm really into it, then not so much, then maybe go back to it again. So I can see something like that happening here, where maybe I'll enjoy the second one of this particular duology, finish it, really like it, and then maybe not pick up the other ones for like a couple of months or something. If at
Yeah.
all. Who knows?
Well, um, it's but I think the main point and the reason why we've talked about this, why we've had this little segue, is for you guys to listen to us and know that just because Amy isn't rushing to pick up the next one doesn't mean she didn't enjoy it.
No,
We we just stand in the way of our own joy,
all the
clearly.
time. I don't allow myself to be happy. No, I know, and I need to force myself. And Rudy's brilliant at that. That is a good thing. My husband's very good at it. He's like, "Come on, you enjoyed this TV show. Let's watch another episode, and you'll get back into it again." And I'm like, "All right." And then I'll watch it. And I'm like, "Let's watch all of them now." And he's like, "Oh, she's off on one again."
I've created a monster.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. no. And on that note, should we do some reviews?
Okay. Do you want to go with one or what does that mean? Oh. I was like, what is that money coming out for? It's our wasp removal. Moving on. Yes,
Let-
okay.
Let's go 1 stars. I'm in the need for a bit of sass.
Okay, if we've talked about it, I will say what it is because these things have came up repeatedly, but we don't need to go into it again. So,
Smashing.
running theme, far too long and not enough plot to justify the length.
I very long book, as we've said, yes. I wouldn't necessarily say there's not enough plot to justify the length. I suppose we did say there were some filler scenes, didn't we?
I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, we're not saying that in hugely negative ways. I wouldn't give it 1 star for it.
That is it. And this, I think, is becoming the theme of reviews for us, is that we're looking at one extreme to another.
Mm.
And yes, it's subjective, and maybe people don't like the fact that it's not go, 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 go. But this was an impression that I never got, back to our first impressions thing. I would never have imagined that this was going to be a fast-paced book or an action-heavy book.
No,
So I want to say, and I'm not victim blaming here, what did you expect going in?
fair. Fair. Okay, this kind of similar, and we've talked about it as well. Same issues and conversations were had with the same characters and recycled over and over and over again.
Yeah, that's true. That does happen. It does.
I think it's realistic though for the age of the characters. We were talking about that before.
Yeah, I think I wonder though, obviously you and we're delving into this perhaps potentially deeper than anyone who is just reading it for fun or whatever it is. So maybe we're giving it too much credit.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, whether Chloe meant for it to be repetitive into sort of like, be an analogy for teenage life or not, I'm not 100% sure. But
And it's difficult, isn't it? Because how do you get that happy medium? Because if she had made them really emotionally mature and great at figuring out their problems, you would roll your eyes and say, "Well, that's not realistic. They don't sound like teenagers." So I get it. It's hard to get the balance right, and it didn't put me out of it, and it also didn't justify 1 star. Um, Interesting. Next one, quite strong. I just, I think I paraphrased it, but I used the words I've said, were used by the review. Shannon's character was infantilized and sexualized, which made readers uncomfortable. So the made readers uncomfortable bit, I'm just putting that in there, but people used infantilized and sexualized quite a lot.
interesting, interesting. Um, I can see that.
I can as well.
Yeah, I mean she is a child, but but I definitely think on the other end of that, they're quite respectful, there's not a lot of like sexual contact. There is a lot of sexual chat about Shannon. Not like locker room talk or whatever, but Johnny is quite like, ooh, let me see those titties.
Yes,
Like,
yes. Hmm. TikTok.
and the impression obviously is not a 17-year-old boy, but
Well,
it's it's yeah, it's quite crass in some form or another, and I wonder if she's trying to justify that by being like, oh, he's just a teenage boy, but at the same time, I fear he also has this like protector need for her, and
yes,
that generally doesn't come with as much sexual chat as
fair.
I have read previously.
I agree. I also think it makes the power balance very one-sided, and sometimes that made me feel a little bit uncomfortable considering how much trauma Shannon had had in her life and the fact that we know how that can impact people and their relationships and how vulnerable it can make her. So the fact that she did feel quite infantilized throughout it, to be honest, and yeah, it wasn't great to read that alongside the sexual comment, the constant sexual commentary that was running through Johnny's head.
Yeah, I think as well, I think even the other men in the story, so her dad,
Mhm.
Joey, and Gibbsy, they're sort of the other stronger male voices. Gibbsy calls her Little Shannon,
Hmm.
and it's a cutesy nickname, but it obviously has connotations.
Hmm.
That Joey obviously sees her as nothing more than his baby sister, and it's his job to protect. And but then on the other side, you've got her father who sees her and calls her a whore
Yeah.
or a slut and like shames her, despite the fact that she has done nothing to,
Mm.
deserve it. So yeah, I suppose there isn't a character that sees Shannon, I suppose, other than her little brothers, who we see a bit
Mhm.
more of towards the end of the story, who see her as anything but either someone they need to protect, but even then Tag at the
Mhm.
end, the little brother, he then tries to protect her. Um, so yeah, it would be nice to have a character that's male that sees Shannon as something that they don't have to protect and
Yeah.
also don't have.
Yeah. An equal. Totally. I get it. I think that's totally right. Okay, let's go for five. So realistic high school story.
Yeah, I mean we touched on that a little. It's
Yeah.
not that we disagree, but sure.
Yep. The slow burn was great. People really enjoyed it. There was quite a lot of like people saying it was like delicious and that the scenes were like sexy. I didn't find the book particularly sexy. I thought it was like there was tension there, but
Mm.
when I read a book, sometimes you put yourself in that position and you're like, oh, this is hot. I didn't find it like that, and I think it's because of the ages of the characters.
Yeah, I think sometimes I conflate tension with sexiness, like
Hmm.
because I find tension very sexy.
Hmm.
Um, so it's difficult for
I think
me
the
to,
term can be used interchangeably too. Like I think when people say like there was so much tension and it was really hot and it was really sexy, whereas I think there was tension in this,
yeah,
but the sexy, hot spiciness there wasn't there.
yeah, that, yeah, it was an interesting one. I wasn't getting like, oh, flutters, because like obviously they're not. It was difficult to put like you said, it's difficult to put myself in as Shannon, or Johnny, whatever you want to do. Um, I think as well, yeah, it was. I think I enjoyed the relationship growing as well as the sort of the
Yeah.
tension,
I think I felt like very protective over them as well. Like I wanted good things for them. So I wanted the relationship to work because I think it would benefit them. So
which
yeah.
is something I would like to talk to you about quite quickly because I realize we're in the midst of reviews. Do you find that Chloe potentially puts them through too much of as characters for us to then like root for them more?
Yes, yes, I think so. And I think it will probably be a reason why some people may forgive or just completely to discard some of the things that Johnny in particular does.
Yeah, yeah, fair.
I can see why you would excuse his behaviors.
Yes. Well, I think as well, by giving him his POV, we know he means no harm.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which is a good thing because obviously any kind of behaviors like that, especially with Shannon's background of abuse, that is obviously something that I would never put together as two characters.
No.
Uh, but yeah, so at least having his POV was a good shout. But yeah, even then, it's because we know that the characters don't get the insight into his POV. They should be reacting a little bit differently.
Yes.
Um,
Agreed.
and I will say, without trying to say what's happening in Keeping 13, that sort of thing is coming to light. Those behaviors are being questioned.
Good. Great. And actually, I think you're right. If we didn't have his POV, he wouldn't be a likable character. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic to see what happens because obviously our cast of characters don't are not in his mind the way that we are.
Yeah.
So yeah. And finally, people love the cast of side characters. And I didn't see anybody mentioning the next books, but they were just very excited and they were talking a lot about their pairings and like who they hope are going to be in the next stories. And
Mm,
yeah.
mm. Yeah, so we'll obviously have Claire and Gibbsy.
Yep.
Do you think we're going to have Lizzie and Pierce, or do you think Lizzie is going to be paired up with someone else, or
Don't know. I think we're going to have Joey.
yes, Joey Lynch is definitely I've remembered like seeing the edits and everything.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I can see this being a TV series. Like I could really could when I was reading it, I could picture it in my head being a little bit like I think I said to you like Grange Hill, but that's a reference that they could alienate quite a lot of our audience. But I don't know if that's a thing anymore, like those kind of like after school special, high school dramas, but very
Yeah,
much written for a very young audience. I don't know if that's a thing.
I think the only sort of like modern contemporary one is what's that one? I never watched something Road.
Oh, with the school, I don't know. Yeah, but
There's like
then even then, like that is that not on like not late night television, but that not on like 8 o'clock at night or something. I'm thinking about the ones that were on like after school, like your
right,
4 p.m. dramas that were like 20 minutes long. Like
right, yeah.
it gave me
Um,
that vibe.
Waterloo Road is the one I was thinking of,
Ah,
and yes, you're right. Actually, that is more of a soap, I suppose.
right.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, but oh yeah, no, Grange Hill, classic.
Mhm.
Biker Grove.
Biker Grove, yeah, I like that one too. I can't. I think that was probably all, but they were very much they dealt with very hard-hitting issues in a way that was accessible to a younger audience. So I can see how this could be adapted for something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting.
Oh,
Yeah, I do. Fair enough. Love that. Shall we end it there? All right. I know we just talked about it, but ick of the week would be for me the sort of the comments of, oh, you don't have to wear makeup and everything. Just let people wear makeup and wear clothing that's revealing. Like it's not it's fine. Just get over it.
get over it. Stop making assumptions, and by thinking it's like you don't have to do those things. Like, yeah, it's just flying in the face of everything that we should be trying to do to lift women up. So.
And I think the only way I could be like, look, I get it. Sharon is accused consistently of being a whore, of being a slut, of like looking at other people's boyfriends as like, reasons that she's bullied or like, so, and even from her dad, as we've talked about before, so clearly she sees those women, oh, those women, she sees girls who do wear makeup, do wear revealing clothing, and she feels this sort of maybe anger at them is the sense of,
Possibly, yeah. To be honest with you, she's had such a twisted and horrible worldview because of the people that she's unfortunately been surrounded by. And she doesn't have, we know that from the start, she hasn't really been able to find any other female friends except the friends that she finds when she goes to Tommen again. So actually, it's you can see why she would say things like that. Her opinion may
yeah,
change, and we might see that in the second book.
maybe, but I think there's nothing so far that's come through. I think that's why I'm fixated on it. It's so early in the book, but at the same time, it's so like it's never addressed. It's never like, and I don't need something as oblique as like, I was wrong. I could wear makeup and be sexy or whatever. Like, it just, there's, yeah. But I don't think we're in that place with Shannon yet. And my only other thing was there's a big thing on like page whatever, chapter 60, and Johnny says, and I knew that she was too fucking broken for a guy like me to get tangled up with.
Ew. Mm.
That, I think that can.
What
I'm
does
sure
guy
I'm
like me mean though?
That's what I mean. I was like, right, so sorry, you don't want the mess? Like that was the vibe. That's how I took it. I know that I'm based on the context clues of who we know Johnny is. He clearly means it in a good way, but I
Yeah,
just
he's
can't
being
find that.
self-deprecating, isn't he? He's basically saying, I'm not a good enough person to be with someone like that.
Yeah, but I couldn't find that at the moment. So I like highlighted it and just went, hmm.
Ah. Um, It will be really interesting. I can see where Johnny's character development is going.
Mm,
I think that's quite obvious. I would be interested to see if Chloe feels that Shannon needs any character development or if she already feels so much protection and, that's not what her story is going to be about, that she doesn't see that there's anything that she does that's wrong or should be developed on. I don't know.
yeah. I think it's potentially that. Like, I mean, I definitely think in again, no spoilers, but with Keeping 13, we have experienced some form of character development for Shannon.
Okay,
more in a strength capacity.
good. That's good.
Um, but yeah, I think we'll give Shannon a pass. She's been shit on her whole life. Like she can maybe just take a pew and let
She's just
Johnny
been
do.
going through it, and
Yeah,
we hope for the best for her. So,
yeah, yeah.
and you know, that's a really hard thing to write as well for Chloe Walsh to have to think, well, that actually this character is flawed, and we need to do some work on that. That's hard when we know what the character's background and experience has been. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's I think maybe just before we move quickly into final thoughts, something's just come to me. I think we maybe talk about the violence in this book. Like it's written so starkly and it does not shy away from, the abuse and like when he says he hits her, it's not like she doesn't feel a sharp pain in her cheek. He like, that it would be written in sort of other lyrically pleasing ways. It's written blatantly, bluntly on the page, this is what is happening, and he's beating her to death at
mhm.
one point at the end of the book. Um, so I think there should be an applaud, not because it's great to read or whatever, but because it's not good to read, that's why it should be given, you know,
Yeah, because you're right. I think, and I'm not going to, I don't have any examples, but I think you could be, as an author, at risk of wanting to include these kinds of topics in your story, but then not feeling comfortable in how you include them, and in that sense, making them feel less or not as serious, or, as you were saying before, using like flowery language, so it's quite ambiguous what's going on there.
mm,
I think if you're going to do it, you have to just commit and do it. And I think Chloe Walsh definitely does that. It's like, this is what's going on. It's horrific abuse. It's on the page. You've got to be confronted by it as a reader. It's not a pleasant thing to read about, but it's not a pleasant thing to live through. So, this is why it's in there like that. I think it was done well.
yeah,
But
I think it,
yeah, triggering, hugely triggering. You
yeah,
can't read
but
this and think you're not going to feel anything towards it, because I thought it was incredibly hard to read.
yeah, but I think as well. You mentioned the things you just said there were a statement, like you have to read this because she's going through it.
Yeah,
And I know that Shannon isn't a real character. I know she's a fictional character, but there are so many Shannons that actually do exist that do go through this abuse, and I like that Chloe doesn't let us not see that happening.
totally. Yep.
Yeah. Can we just take a very small moment, like 5 seconds literally, to just be like, and I know that Johnny is a child, he's still 17, but at what point, our brother isn't beating her, pretty much no one at Tommen is beating her. How do you not know? It's not. For anyone not watching,
Oh. I know I'm
Amy's.
just in a cousinette moment, but like you're totally right. Like you're not that sheltered. You have experience of these things indirectly. You understand what domestic violence looks like and what abuse is, whether you've experienced it or not. So when someone is being beaten black and blue and coming in with fingerprints on their neck and bruises on their face, red flag, red flag. Who is it going to be? And at one point she says my father, and he still doesn't get it. He's like, oh, I wonder what she meant by that.
I think it doesn't she say that when he's like drugged up and he doesn't really remember?
I don't know, because there's a bit at the end though when he's like reflecting on, I think he's remembering what happened, and it's like he is lucid at that point, and he's like, huh, wonder what that
Oh,
was
I
all
think
about.
he's putting together when she has the concussion and she says that her father's gonna be angry or, my dad took my phone. Yeah, look, like at the end of the day, it's reassuring because it reminds me that at the end of the day, Johnny Kavanagh is just a stupid boy.
He's just a stupid boy, and he's actually in that sense a well-written stupid boy.
Absolutely. Right. Final thoughts.
Um, I enjoyed it. Yeah, I really did. It's not, we've talked about this a million times. It's not our favorite genre. I don't love contemporary romance. I find it quite boring at times to read. But this gripped me, and I thought that the really sensitive issues were handled pretty well. I think there are things in there that I would like to see addressed so that we can make sure that that's not something that the author is putting in the story. It's a character's worldview and it's going to change, or if it's not going to change, then we understand that that is part of them. So it's not perfect, but I had a good time with it.
Yeah. No, I think I more than enjoyed it. I think I really enjoyed it. I think going straight into the second was telling for me. Like I wanted to know what happened. You're right, it gripped me. I was hooked. I couldn't put it down at a certain point. I just wanted to keep reading.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't even feel like it felt like a contemporary romance in a way. I think we talked about it earlier, like with having that edge, having that grit, it felt like something more than what I'd read in previous contemporary romances. So yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I will yeah, I could if someone says to me, "Oh, have you read The Boys of Tommen?" I'd be happy like, "Oh yeah, no, I've read the first two," or hell, by the time maybe someone asks, I'll have read all of them.
You
Who
never
knows?
know. You never know. And I'm going to dive into the second one too, because I want to know how it all ends up for Johnny and Shannon. So it's a good sign.
Yeah. Maybe they don't even finish on the second book. Who knows? I've got no idea. And I don't want to know
You
because
don't
I
want to
want to.
know. Okay.
Yeah.
I won't tell you then what I know. Cool. Um,
Excellent.
would you like to tell us what we are reading next week?
I would, after I've tried my hand at giving recommendations.
Okay, you have recommendations for this one. I didn't think we would.
And you've called me out, and that's fair. I wasn't sure we would either.
I'm going to
Um,
skim over it, but you go.
and I appreciate you doing that, and the sadness in me, that just the sadist in me, or I suppose is it Matt? It's sadism, yes. Um, I think just maybe other Chloe Walsh books.
Fine. Fair enough.
Um,
There are lots of them.
but ask me that other question again, and we'll seamlessly piece this together.
Let's put this together for a TikTok clip. Liv, would you like to tell us what we're reading next week?
Yes, Amy. Next week we will be reading This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El Mortar and Max Gladstone. Um, a real stark genre shift again.
Mhm.
Um, but here we go. It's just the twists and turns you get with Page Turn as a bookish podcast.
Just never know what's going to come next. We were supposed to read this one last year, then we took our hiatus. So this is one that we have been really keen to not let drop off in our traditional style, but we wanted to make sure we did read it. So I'm really looking forward to it.
We were actually on a TikTok live a few weeks ago when I was round at yours and we were doing a in-person recording, and our one of our lovely listeners, AJ, suggested this book and reminded us that we had never read it.
There
So
we go. So
thanks.
we're going to do it now. Thanks, AJ. We're definitely going to read it now, and I am really, really looking forward to reading it.
Yeah, I mean the fact that it's pitched as, sci-fi LGBT, sold.
We,
Sold.
we, we
How are
need
you
to do some sci-fi. We said we were going to do more of it.
Very
So
true. How are you feeling? Obviously, we did Annie Bot. You enjoyed Annie Bot. How are you feeling?
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I feel like it's got a little bit of like mystique around it now and like gravitas because it's the book that we were supposed to read and we never got round to it. So let's see how that goes. And also it's
Will it,
everywhere and everybody loves it and I've only ever seen good things about it. So yeah,
yeah, will it be the one that almost got away?
exactly.
Excellent. Well, until then, see you then. Go check us out on Page Turners Pod on TikTok, etc. Look, if you want to email us, email us, podcastpageturners@gmail.com. No one minds. We wouldn't mind. We'll email you back.
We like emailing. Comment on Spotify or wherever else you listen if you can comment on these places. I don't know. We like interacting with you guys. It's so much
We
fun.
do. Drop us a 5-star review because we deserve it. We work very hard. Um, and yeah, happy reading. See you next week.
Bye.